Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Baldrige Foundation's Institute for Performance Excellence webinar, Communities of Excellence 2026, What's New and What's Next? As a reminder, due to the high number of participants, everyone will be kept on mute during the presentations. If you have questions, please submit them to the moderator in the Q&A box located on your control screen. Presenters will answer questions during our panel discussion. Before we get started today, I want to take a moment and recognize members of the Mac Baldrige Society who serve as trustees for the Institute for Performance Excellence. It is their generous support that makes presentations like today's possible. And here's our agenda for today. Our guest presenter is Stephanie Norling, President and CEO of Communities of Excellence 2026. Following her presentation, we will answer questions from the audience and have a few closing remarks. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, Steph, to get us started.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to sharing what's new and what's next with Communities of Excellence. I want to get started for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with us and are wondering a little bit about who we are. Communities of Excellence 2026 is a national nonprofit organization. We're committed to improving quality of life for residents at the community level. And we do this by implementing a Baldrige-based Communities of Excellence framework as a roadmap for addressing our community's most pressing challenges. Let's see. This is all based on the original belief of our co-founders, which was now almost, I guess, over 10 years ago now, which is pretty amazing to think about, that a systems framework, the Baldrige framework, which they had successfully used in their own organizations to transform their organizations and achieve remarkable results, could be modified to achieve performance excellence in communities to benefit the health and well-being of all residents. And to put this another way, as simply the idea was, could we take this framework that we know works in organizations and apply it across organizations, across sectors, across leadership entities in a community to help align efforts, coordinate work, track data, track resources, and get better results. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years or so. These are our communities and partners. Now on the left here, you see there's 34 communities that have been impacted by Communities of Excellence since the beginning. Most of those have gone on to our alumni program, and we still currently have a number of communities in the phases of the current National Learning Collaborative, which I'll get to a little bit further down the road in this presentation. I also want to call out our partners because this is certainly not something that we can do alone, and we've been very privileged to have the support of the National Baldrige Program, the Alliance for Performance Excellence, of course, the Baldrige Foundation, which we're here with today, as well as some of our other partners, TAP Network, which is a technology and social media partner, PMG Consulting, and Culture Brokers. Down below there, I wanted to call out Japan Productivity Center because since 2 years ago, we have been working with them to help implement Communities of Excellence in Japan, and they actually recently completed their first community profile for a prefecture in Japan. We're very excited about that and where that will head in the future. So before I get into what's next and what's new, let's talk about what we've been up to. This is the main programs that we've been working on for the last few years. So our flagship program is the National Learning Collaborative. It's a 3-phase program. We started it in 2017, and before, when you saw those communities, that's the program that they've all gone through as part of their work with us. We focus a lot on improving the curriculum, the quality and content of what we deliver to communities based on their feedback and what we've learned over the years. And we've done a lot of work in translating the criteria into language that is applicable and more friendly to communities, using graphics and tools and worksheets and a playbook that can really help communities wherever they're at in their journey apply these concepts and hopefully be successful. We've also undergone a number of revisions to the Communities of Excellence framework. Most recently, the 2023-2024 revision was our most significant and probably the most comprehensive revision that we've done. We were fortunate to be able to bring on a team of DEI experts from across the country who reviewed the criteria and gave us some really valuable input into it so that we can make sure that equity and excellence are one and the same in this country. And of course, our assessment and recognition program, which parallels the Baldrige and Alliance assessment programs, allows communities to respond to the questions in the criteria and submit applications. We have teams of volunteer reviewers who provide feedback reports to those communities. And we also have a series of recognition levels that we hope in very soon will be moving up to eligibility to apply at the national level for the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. So we're very excited about that. To expand a little bit on the learning collaborative model, this, as I said, is a three-phase program. The first phase is really about understanding as a community, as a group of leaders who've come together, who you are, what's important to you, what the framework is all about, and how you're going to work together. We then move into phase two, which is about engaging additional stakeholders, expanding your leadership team, developing sustainability practices, as well as a collective strategic action plan and going into implementation. And then the third phase is really about alignment, about, again, more focused on sustainability and diving deeper into the criteria and the questions around measurement, around communication, around your volunteers and how you engage. So this model has been really successful for us, especially in the beginning when we were trying to understand how this approach, adapting it from an organizational framework, would truly apply and be effective in communities. Now, it is we used to say 3-year curriculum, but we changed that because communities move at different levels, and that's just fine. There's no single way that this has to go. So we have some communities that will repeat certain phases because they feel like that's what's important for them or most helpful, which is why we renamed them to phases instead of years. Now, something we've learned along the way, of course, 3 years is a long time. We know that, but the pursuit of excellence is a continuous journey, not a destination. And we believe that it was really important that this work didn't go too quickly to really establish the foundations, to change culture within a community, to have the right people and the right processes for sustainability. We felt like we couldn't rush this. One of the quotes we like to use is that change happens at the speed of trust, and it takes time to build trust. We also learned along the way that if you didn't already have an established team in place, or maybe a coalition or a collaborative that you were working with, it's much more difficult to advance in this model. Many of the communities that didn't, well, we still have examples of very successful communities that did go through this, not having something in place right away. But we did see that those that didn't, it took them longer, and they spent more of their first year really trying to figure out how to work as a team versus being able to meaningfully advance through the curriculum. So that was a really important lesson for us. Another thing that we've seen specifically since COVID is that these longer approaches are a little more difficult now. We see a lot of turnover in organizations. We've seen obviously financial challenges. We know that there's burnout. And so these all required us to start thinking a little bit differently about how we deliver our programs. And so that, as you see through this presentation, will come up as we reimagine what we are going to be for the future. Before I get into that, though, I want to continue to kind of expand on some of the things that we've been doing. This past October, we had our fall conference in Coral Gables, Florida, alongside the Baldrige Fall Conference hosted by the Alliance. This was our best attended conference that we've had. We had a lot of fun. We had amazing sponsors for this conference, which we were so privileged to have. And we have 3 communities in South Florida as well. So it was a really fun opportunity to be able to highlight the work of Coral Gables, which was our host community, West Kendall, Florida, which is just south of there, and then Coral Springs, which, if you remember, I believe was the first city government to receive the National Quality Award quite a while ago. So they are in their 3rd year with Communities of Excellence right now. And actually in the lower left there, you can see all 3 of those communities represented on our partner engagement panel, which was really exciting. We had a fabulous keynote speaker, Krista Stepney, and in general, just had some great sessions and a really good time. Let's see. In addition to that, we had the opportunity to do a much more significant job celebrating the accomplishments of the communities that submitted their applications to the assessment and recognition program. So in the past, we had been able to do a recognition ceremony during lunch. But this year we said, you know what, we want to make a big deal about this. These are impressive accomplishments that these communities have done. So we had a reception and award ceremony in Coral Gables at the beautiful Biltmore Hotel, which you see here. On the lower right, this is our Communities of Excellence faculty. And we provided them with some props to make sure that people were appropriately celebrated as they were recognized. In the top right is the Coral Gables community. We were very lucky to have the mayor attend and help receive the recognition. And just to give Coral Gables a little shout out, this was their first time applying at the top level, the full criteria. And they actually skipped right over the bronze recognition and got silver, which is really a really impressive feat, and we congratulate them. On the top left is the West Kendall, Florida team, who also received the silver recognition. Bottom right is the San Diego South Region team. And you may recognize Nick Machione, who was a Harry Hertz Leadership Award recipient a few years back. He is now on the COE board, and we're very happy and pleased to have him as a part. And Barbara Jimenez, who was one of the first recipients of the Leadership Award category for community that the foundation gives out. In the middle there is the Coral Springs team. So again, just a really great time to celebrate. A lot of good times. And as I think we know, celebrating successes is so important to keeping engagement, keeping momentum going. And so we needed to be able to reflect that. This is something we hope to continue to do here. So in addition to the full application and these recognitions, something new that we did this year was category and promising practice recognitions. So for each of the applications that the reviewers looked at, they also pulled out different things that they said, you know, this is really exceptional. We want to highlight this so that we can share it with other communities. And as we all know, good processes lead to good results, or they should. And so I wanted to call out and share with you all a little bit of these really impressive processes, and then also share with you some of the results that we've been seeing with our communities. So this is Excelsior Springs. They also received the silver recognition this past year. And they were recognized in addition for their strategic planning processes and communication processes. And so you see on the right here, this is their strategic planning process. It's been revised a few times, as you do, anyone would with good cycles of learning. I also was really impressed by their process to review their mission, vision, and values that they do annually. And then on the top left is the picture of their leadership system, their leadership team, which has these 4 task forces. And those are the primary areas where they deploy their strategy. Let's see. The next one here is McCook. McCook, Nebraska received the bronze recognition this year. They were also recognized for their strategy development process, which I think is a really, really good one. I think it's something that we definitely want to be sharing with other communities. This is just a snapshot of it, but they do an excellent job of scanning the community and really using data to identify and prioritize the needs of that community and then create action plans around it. They've had a lot of success. I'm really proud to be able to show their work and share what they've been doing. You can also see on the left their leadership system graph. I think it's a really good one as well. And they do a really good job with their Plan, Do, Check, Act process. So these are 3 things that I really wanted to highlight about McCook. San Diego South region was recognized for a number of different processes. One was their community engagement process. This is something that was pretty innovative. So this is, they were the first, and to my knowledge, maybe the only community that continues to do this. But they have, I think, over 50 partners that participate in their South Region leadership team. And they had identified their 3 drivers of engagement, but they wanted to validate and understand those and be able to continue to build off of them. So every year they have this engagement input form that everyone fills out, and it helps them understand what they're doing well and where they need to improve. They also have an excellent new partner orientation, which was recognized. And this is critical because any new partner that coming in now, goes through this orientation and understands, what Live Well San Diego and what the South Region is all about, what their priorities are, how they can contribute to them, what to expect being a partner. It's a really helpful tool and something that a number of our communities have used as well. And then on the top left here is an example of one of the dashboards that they use. They have 3 work groups that are behavioral mental health, homelessness, and food insecurity. So I believe it's every 5 years they do a strategic planning cycle. identify their priority areas, form work groups, and then develop actions, strategies and action plans and measures and targets around them. So you can see this is their current cycle. And they've been tracking kind of both the Live Well San areas of influence, which align to the local work, as well as the communities of excellence domains, the indicators, the measures that they're tracking, the targets, the status of those, and then any notes. I think it's a really helpful tool that other communities have been able to see and learn from. And then this is Coral Springs. They just completed phase 2 and are beginning phase 3 of the Learning Collaborative. And uniquely, given how kind of new to the process they are, they were recognized for their communication methods. And they even did a promising practice session at our conference so that they could share this with other communities as well. And they've done some really great work. We're really, really proud to be working with them. So hopefully, as we say, good processes are going to lead to good results. So kind of following this thread, I just wanted to share some of the results that we've been seeing. This is San Diego South region, and food insecurity was identified as one of their key priorities. Now, of course, really moving the needle on some of these is going to take some time, but you can see the number of people that they were able to serve in just a 6-month period. They demonstrated a lot of agility in the fact that last year, believe it or not, we actually had flooding in San Diego, and it significantly affected a lot of our residents. And so they pivoted from their planned actions to be able to help with those flood victims and help serve food and make sure that they were stable in that time where they were displaced from their homes. Some of their longstanding programs, Love Your Heart Participation, which is a program that monitors blood pressure and helps residents identify if they're at risk of some serious illness. And then they also have tracking the number of total Live Well recognized partners, which continues to go up. So this is just an example of some of the measures that they're tracking. In Healthy West Kendall, which I didn't share their process, but one of their priorities is reducing childhood drowning deaths, which is one of the largest preventable deaths, I believe, of young people, but don't quote me on that. So they have been doing a number of programs and services that they're providing to the community to help teach young people how to swim. They've been awarding swim scholarships, and in their swim safety sessions, they're tracking the results of how effective those sessions are so that they can improve them. And as you can see, drowning deaths are going down year over year, which is just amazing. So we're very happy and pleased with those results. This is Excelsior Springs. If you recall, one of their task forces focuses on housing and reducing the suboptimal housing rate, which was one of the challenges that they identified in a priority area for them. So as you can see, they've made measurable improvement in reducing this number. And as you look below at some of the other KPIs they're tracking, these are some of the kind of actions that they've taken to try to address that number so that it all contributes to a reduction in this suboptimal housing rate. I want to take a minute to zero in on Coral Gables. They were our host community and again did some really exceptional work. And there might be some Coral Gables people on this webinar, so you can chastise me later if I get things wrong, but feel free in the Q&A to clarify if I make any significant mistakes. But so this is from their 2024 application where they received the silver recognition. And this first slide here is about their leadership system. So what I love about Coral Gables, they have a very simple, very effective, very meaningful approach to their communities of excellence work. Their main communities of excellence group team is a representative from the Chamber of Commerce, from the city, from the Community Foundation, and I believe from the local hospital, from Baptist Health. And then they have a Baldrige coach, David, who's done some excellent work for them. And so what this document does is it shows their strategy development, deployment, and execution process. And then every month, the team gets together to review this strategy map, which they call their flywheel. And it has on the left their 5 strategic goals: quality of life, health and wellness. You can see those. And then within are the strategic objectives that they've determined that will help with those strategic goals. So every month they meet and they review the data for all of these, identifying those that are on track and those that are not meeting their targets. They then review each of those metrics to see, are we achieving our vision target level, which is 20% better or top 80th percentile? And so if they do, of course, you celebrate. If they're not, they then proceed to, okay, what actions do we need to take to support improving this? And as you can see, they've been making some pretty measurable, significant improvements. But this is kind of this process they follow to meet with their program partners. And here you can see the 12 key program partners they have, identifying resources to assist the partners, connecting community resources, and then evaluating and improving their systems. So here's kind of an example then of one of those strategic objectives and how they drill further down into it. This is the percent without health insurance. As you can see, the goal is to decrease that number. You can see how they compare to Miami-Dade County, Florida, and the United States, and they have made progress year over year since 2018. On the top right here is what the whole document looks like. But then within each of these, you then further identify who their partners are, where the comparative data comes from, the result trends. They have a 21.6% decrease over a 5-year period, which is pretty amazing. Challenges to the program, requests from those who are implementing it on how they could use help, and then other important data down here. And something I really like about this one is that the request that they've been asked for help is really to help segment results, because you can continue to make progress, but you're going to get to a point too where you need to further understand, okay, who is not receiving the services or the programs, and segmented data is really going to help shine light on that. And that's something that's actually incorporated into the Communities of Excellence criteria revision. So I was really happy to see that that's been prioritized here. So that is kind of done where they now proceed and support the programs and partners that are doing the work to help with this one. And then again, just showing some of the other results they have. Violent crime has decreased year over year. In the top here, I love this one. The number of accidental deaths per 100,000 in 2023 was 0. So that's something to celebrate. And then, of course, they also measure satisfaction with the community and with services. So you can see down here are some measures of quality of life satisfaction and safety satisfaction that they're tracking. And then again, just to kind of recap this is that COE strategy map, the flywheel that they have. And again, the goals on the left, the objectives within, and all of these measures, they get together monthly and track. It's really an impressive system. And I hope to have a separate webinar at some point in the future focused on how they've approached this and how they've been doing this work. David Haraway was nice enough to do a session with our communities when we were all in Coral Gables, and I think we all had some really great takeaways from that, and we're very appreciative. So let's get into now what is new with Communities of Excellence, because there is a lot that's new and there's a lot coming up. So one of the things that we have been really excited about a couple years ago, if you have been following our webinars with the foundation, we had a webinar just about our new digital scorecard. But we have made a lot of progress on it since then, and I'm really excited to share that. Now, we began a couple years ago with the belief that communities needed help with what data to track, how to identify it. There is so much data out there. I mean, one thing I remember someone said to me is, every measure has an advocate. And so if you started looking around and asking what's important to everyone, you would probably have, hundreds of data points. And so how could we prioritize, but also keep this meaningful and useful to communities for decision-making, for comparison, for communication, for storytelling, all the things that are so important. And so we began by surveying our community members. We surveyed what's out there, what other organizations and other efforts are using. And then we looked at, what is available at the census tract level, what is updated at a regular interval, a lot of key measure, what is comparable. So a lot of key kind of components to this that we wanted to make sure that this would provide meaningful data. And the other thing we wanted to do is identify some data points that would create a holistic picture of the community, which supports the whole system's view and the importance of the interconnectedness of these measures. So we identified these 5 measures on the left. And of course, these are not the be all end all of what a community can measure, but they are a starting point. And so if you undertake this kind of a journey, or even, as an organization wanting to sort of understand your community or support your community, be it of assistance, this was a starting point that we believe that communities could have. So all of our communities have this. They have, in some, they use some slightly different measures. That's really up to them. But we provide this available for them, how to identify the information. We also help them in how to share it, how to track it, what kind of information to provide along with it. So this started, it was really successful, and our communities really found value in it. We then added cascading metrics. So within each of these domains on the left, we know that there are further measures, obviously, that can tell more of the complete story of how you're performing. And so we created a kind of a grid of what we call cascading metrics underneath these. So it's about another 35 measures, where to find those, some of the limitations, how the data can be segmented. So again, trying to be a service to communities. But then we wanted to take it one step further so that this could be as accessible as possible to our communities. We developed our online digital scorecard. So we're rolling that out right now. It's available to all of our Learning Collaborative members, but we'd like to have this available to anyone who joins our membership program as well, if this is something that's interesting to them. It's a customizable scorecard for every community. So we work with our partner TAP Network. It begins with these 5 high-level measures and then about 25 of those cascading measures. And so each community it says 15. So 15 of the cascading metrics. So each community can customize it down to their census tract or zip codes. And it's interactive, it's shareable, it's comparable. You can pull the data off and put it into websites or into reports for storytelling. It's really an exciting scorecard, an exciting offering that we're providing, and we've just seen so much value in it that the communities have found. So we look forward to the next step that we'd like to do with this is add the segmented data, because we know how critical it is to further understand what is the story of your community and the residents within them. The next kind of what's new is our partnership with Lincoln Vibrant Communities. Now, this is a new effort that's in partnership with the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy and Claremont Lincoln University. And they have developed a what they're calling Vibrant Communities. It begins with a fellows program where individuals go through a kind of 6-month-long training curriculum where they actually receive an advanced graduate certificate through Claremont Lincoln University. But they learn critical aspects of leadership as well as land policy. From there, they have this vision to then move into a teams program so that those fellows then go back and form a team and tackle a significant challenge or a land policy issue in their community. We're very happy with our partnership, very proud to be partners with these organizations. They are very ambitious in their goals, and we have been supporting their teams work as well as with coaching for the communities, which are 2 areas that I think we're particularly successful in, is helping form teams, helping collaborate effectively in different sectors, and then not just develop strategies, but really actually act on and deploy strategies and actions to get results. So we are really pleased with and happy to be working with Vibrant Communities. Another new offering in Communities of Excellence, something we just rolled out and we'll be making more of a deal of coming up soon, is the Founders Fund. Now, our 2 co-founders, Lil Cruz and Rick Norling, retired officially from the board this past September. And we wanted to do something to honor them. So we created what we're calling our Founders Award. It's going to be an annual award that we give to an individual or individuals who have really made an exceptional impact in their communities. So, of course, the first one went to Lil and Rick. You can see there they received their award. We did it with kind of a grape theme because they love to talk about how the idea for Communities of Excellence came over a glass of wine. And so we wanted to kind of honor that history in the award itself. And we also created a Founders Fund, which was started by significant contributions from Lowell and Rick and have been further built up by contributions from our board, and we hope by others out in the community and beyond. And all the contributions go directly to support communities to access our educational programs. so that if communities are having, interested, want to do this, but they're experiencing financial challenges to be able to fully support this, we want to be able to help. And that's really the point of this fund. So we're really excited about that. We really appreciate the work that our two co-founders did to get us here, and we wanted something that would honor them and continue to be a legacy. So let's get now into what's next. So you heard me talking a little bit before about the National Learning Collaborative, about why it was started, how we've approached it, and some of the kind of barriers or challenges we've seen to it of late. We've seen about it of late. And so we want to honor that. We want to recognize that one, people are starting this journey at different places. And as I talked about, one of the things that we saw was that if you didn't already have an effective team in place, it was much harder to get started on that journey. And so that has inspired us to create one of our first new programs that's going to come this winter, which is called Building Strong Teams for Collaborative Action. And this is really about preparing participants from different sectors to establish a team of partners who can effectively work together to address a shared priority. It doesn't have to be limited to communities of excellence work. I think this is really important program that's really just about helping teams understand who needs to be involved, what their purpose and their why is, how to build an effective team, develop effective processes for working together, and then draft an engagement plan so that they can continue to build trust and have an effective and meaningful group together that can truly transform their community or the work, whatever work they're doing. It starts with a readiness assessment and of course ends with a readiness assessment. But we're really excited about this program, and we are going to be launching this in the winter of 2025. We're not going to discontinue the Learning Collaborative, but we do think this is really important to groups of people who maybe aren't quite ready to dive all the way into that. The other program that we've been focusing on, we're calling our Social Impact Accelerator. And this program is kind of flipping the idea, which is that we also know that there are some really amazing groups that are already collaborating really well, already finding success working together. But maybe they know they can do more, or maybe they want to apply some more structure or rigor to the work that they're doing. And so we've developed the Social Impact Accelerator for those groups that to help them get more impact and more effectiveness out of the work that they're already doing. So it's really about moving to the next level through strengthening your leadership processes, strengthening your strategic action planning, and your measurement so that you can get the outcomes that you're desired. It's both of these programs will be aligned to a sort of subsection of the Communities of Excellence criteria, so kind of a mini criteria, if you will, that we're developing to go with them, so that it all continues to align to the framework and is a starting point to then build up to either adopting the full framework, participating in our learning collaborative, or just continuing more sustainably the work that they're doing. And so we hope to have this program launched in the spring or summer. The other program that we want to put a little more work into is our membership program. We did a launch of this last year, but one of the things I think that we're seeing is that we want to revisit what is meaningful to individuals and organizations and can really help benefit your communities. So our current membership program, I think it's really significant. It's really designed to look at organizations who want to make more of an impact in their community and not really sure where to start. So we have a lot of different opportunities here, and we'll continue to provide discounts to our trainings and anything new that we develop. And that's hopefully we'll be giving access to our online scorecard. So that's one of the things I want to revisit with our membership program. But I think it's really important, that we want to be able to touch all different points in a community. So not just the cross-sector groups, but organizations within it that maybe aren't directly involved, but maybe would like to be, or would like to just understand a little bit more about this, or just frankly improve how they work with their community, as well as individuals who are just kind of wanting to learn about this for their own growth and development, or their own ability to lead and be impactful in their community. So look forward to kind of improvements and adjustments to the membership program. And then finally, and then I'll open this up for questions. Hopefully you have a lot of good questions. Some of the other priorities that we're going through right now is, again, continuing partnerships. We can't do this all alone. We don't want to do this alone because there are amazing organizations out there doing fantastic work, and we want to be able to lift up all of that work. So we continue to identify and seek out partners that can help amplify all of this work and help us just make this as effective as possible within our communities. We are investing in this year into a new learning management system for the Learning Collaborative and for our program. So we're going to change the way that we deliver a lot of the curriculum compared to how we used to. We're going to use this LMS, I think, a lot more effectively. And within that, we're going to develop a knowledge sharing platform, which we are really excited about, so that communities can actually upload, share, seek out, and search for these promising practices, our worksheets and tools much more easily, and a lot of the resources and information that we know that is so important to have. And frankly, we know exists out there. We don't want to be reinventing the wheel every time we want a new process or a new approach to do something. We want communities to be able to find it easily and access it and then adapt it for their own uses. So very excited about that. Expect to have that out this year for sure, but we're actually getting started on it right now. Again, as I mentioned, segmenting data to the digital scorecard, because it's so critical to be able to understand more deeply what's going on in your community. And one of the ways that you do that is by segmenting the data to really understand where to focus your actions and your improvements. We also know that AI is really becoming a big topic, obviously, and there is a role for AI in improving community performance. This goes beyond just your simple kind of like logistics and tactics and kind of operational uses, but AI can really, I believe, help us understand how a community functions together, how the organizations and what's really going on in a community. So we have some partners that we're working on with that, and we really want to be at the leading edge of that. I think it's absolutely important. It's a way to simplify this work, and the easier we can make it to improve our communities, the better. Again, we're continuing to work to deliver quality programs that meet communities where they're at. We know that everyone begins these journeys in different places. Everyone is looking for different kind of has different needs about how this is effective, and so we want to be able to meet those needs. And you're seeing the beginning of that with our new programs, with the LMS, but we want to continue to evaluate and identify ways to do that. Critical to the success of this work is building community leadership capacity, and you do that through coaching, but you also do that through empowering leaders within communities to do this work. It's amazing the individuals that have taken this on. They tend to be visionary, they tend to be ambitious, inspired, willing to take risks, willing to try something new. But we need to bring along as many people as we can into these journeys. And so kind of figuring out what the best way to do that is really high on our list of priorities. And then we are developing a coaching training program as well, because as Lowell Cruz would always say, or I'm sure many people say, the best players have the best coaches. We know how important coaching is to the success of these communities. We see it in our own communities. Those that have coaches really excel. So that's something else we want to build on. And then, of course, if you haven't noticed, our organization's name is Communities of Excellence 2026, and we are not far off from that year. So with all these changes, we are looking to rebrand. And I don't quite know what that's going to look like yet, but that's one of our priorities for the next year and a half or so, up to 2026. So with that, thank you very much, and I'll turn this back to you, Al.
Hey, thanks for such a great presentation. You've certainly come a long way in the last year, Steph. Exciting times. We've got a bunch of questions, and I'll just kick off with the first one here. Can you share specific examples of how Social Impact Accelerator and Building Strong Teams programs are tailored to deliver faster results compared to the National Learning Collaborative?
Sure. So I know I covered it a little bit in my presentation, but I know that it's, of course, one of the things that we all need is we need to see quick wins. We need to see quicker results. And the Learning Collaborative curriculum has built into it support on how to identify quick wins. But sometimes, we really need to get that more immediate impact. We really need to get something moving faster in order to be able to build onto it and continue to move forward. So the Social Impact Accelerator specifically is really designed to help take whatever it is you're working on, apply the criteria, apply this process to it, and we believe that you'll get more impact from it faster. Similarly with the teams work, again, if you're trying to build your team as you're implementing actions and developing, it's a lot harder. So just simply, honestly, building an effective team is a win. And so we know that that's an important starting point.
Okay. Next question is, what types of communities or organizations do you envision benefiting the most from these shorter, more focused programs?
I think, I envision that honestly, it's really for organizations or groups that are just not quite sure if they're ready to dive all the way into the full communities of excellence journey. I think it's a really good way to kind of start and dip your toe in and say, is this the right approach for us? Are we finding value in it? And then if they do, they're already that much more prepared because they started. And if they opt not to, that's fine, but at least they're taking home, I think, some of the importance of this systems framework and of the values and this approach that I think is really, really effective and important.
Okay. The next question is, what are the key steps for a community to get started with the Social Impact Accelerator or building strong teams programs?
They are different. So I'd say with the Social Impact Accelerator, I think you would want to identify if you're already in a coalition or collaborative or working on an issue, identify an issue that is really important to you as an organization, you as a coalition, or to your community. And you can see that through the data or through feedback from your residents, and have a group together already. That program assumes that you already have people that are working on an issue or have some level of work and action going on to address it. With the Building Strong Teams program, it's almost the opposite. It's really about people that have a desire to work together, but don't quite know where to start. Sometimes we'll see people who get significant funding for an issue and then say, oh my goodness, now we have to put the group together that's going to do this. That's a really, I think, effective approach to this Teams program. And that's actually one of the motivations that came out of it, is I think it's a will and a desire to do this work, but you have to understand that first you need the right people and you need them working together effectively.
Okay. The next question is similarly related. It's almost like a two-part question. How do these programs integrate with the existing communities of excellence framework?
Again, I think these stemmed from the full criteria. So I think, one of the other things that we understand is the full communities of excellence criteria, even though it's fewer questions than the Baldrige framework, Baldrige criteria, is still rather daunting. It's a lot. And what we don't really have is almost that, like, I almost think of it as like those clear microfiches, and you kind of layer them on top of each other, of sort of like, what's that first step to get started? And so I think that these new programs, and maybe whatever other programs we decide to design as well, are really almost that first layer, so that you're not just diving headlong into this. Rather, I'm not gonna lie, it's a big journey. It's an important one, and that's why we believe in it, but it's a lot of work. And so this, I think, is what it's a first step, and it's a way to understand what this is about and what you're doing to achieve something meaningful. Whether it's your team or whether it's effective outcomes around something you're working on, and understand then better how to then take the next step into the full criteria.
Okay. Our next question is, can you share some of the most inspiring or innovative outcomes from communities participating in the National Learning Collaborative?
I should have thought of that in advance. I mean, yes, just give me a second. Absolutely. I mean, I think just to start at the very beginning, I think that communities, community excellence groups, organizations that decide to take this work on behalf of their community are incredibly inspiring because it's a recognition that we know that just doing things the same way isn't working and that we need to try something different. And that this isn't a case where the simplest is going to necessarily be the most effective. I mean, this takes work, it takes effort. But when I look within the communities of some of the work that they're doing, in San Diego, the way that their food insecurity and homelessness groups really rallied around and regrouped to support what was going on with their flood victims, to me was just incredible. I love the work that West Kendall has been doing, not just within their drowning and their swim safety campaigns, but supporting to their business community. In Saratoga, they have taken one step further, I think, in this work, and they're really looking at how they lead as a community. So they've brought in coaches that they're training and supporting. Many of our communities have understood the importance of building up new leaders in their community and have developed resident leadership academies. So I think one of the things to me that's so inspiring is that this is going beyond just not just, but you know what I mean, going beyond identifying strategies and action plans and moving the needles on these outcomes, but really looking at the way the whole community performs, the way the community, building leadership, really taking the holistic view of what it means to be a successful, high-performing community.
Okay, our next question is, how can other communities replicate the successes showcased in today's presentation?
Well, I think, one of the things that we're really working on with the knowledge management platform and some of these other things is a way to help communities be much more easily be able to replicate the work. So we really, one of the values, as we know, of Baldrige is documenting what you're doing so that you know what's working, you can identify how to improve, and you have these things there to be able to share, to be able to assess and sustain the work that you're doing. And so I do think that getting involved, we hope to start offering a series of webinars as well, because we've learned so much from these communities. We've seen so many amazing practices that we just don't have the time to share all of. So we really do want to start a webinar series. So I hope that you'll consider the membership program, you'll consider trying out one of our new programs and staying involved, because I know what we need to do. We just need to be able to get that knowledge out there and share it.
Got time for one more question here, and our last one will be, for communities that are new to COE, how can they best prepare to participate in the program?
I think that's a good question. I think the best way to prepare is to make sure that you have the leadership support you need from your organization or from whatever the group is that wants to do this, so that you can continue to do the work, so that you can be as effective as possible. I think one of the areas that we see a struggle is if you have some really excited, enthusiastic, well-meaning people, but you don't necessarily have the higher up leadership support to make sure that this is going to be ingrained in what you do, to make sure that this is going to be sustained in some way, and to make sure that you're going to be given and have the time that you will be able to, that you'll need to really invest in it. So I think I would say make sure you have your leadership support.
Fantastic. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for today's presentation and taking all those great questions from our audience. We truly appreciate it.
Thank
If
you.
we go to the next slide, the Foundations Institute has more than 400 training and professional development certification opportunities, all offered online and at your own pace. This month, we are showcasing 3 certification courses directly related to today's presentation: a certificate in managing change and resolving conflict, a certificate in leadership, and a certificate in nonprofit management. You can visit the Institute at baldrigeinstitute.org/education to learn more and to register. As a reminder, the recorded version of today's presentation and the slides will be available next week on the Foundation's website. Once again, thanks to all of our great sponsors and donors. And we look forward to seeing you next month on December 12th, when our guest presenters from Wellstar Health System will be Victoria Dune-Shari, Vice President, Quality Operations and Performance Excellence, and Susan Thurman, Vice President of Nursing Practice and Clinical Integration. Their topic will be an integrated approach to the journey to excellence. Thanks again for attending this afternoon, everyone, and have a great day.